All right, we go ahead and get started. I've lost my partner apparently, but anyway, so this year our family decided to go to Breckenridge, Colorado for our family vacation. Every year we pick a different location that we can drive to within 2 days generally. So we've been to Gatlinburg and we've been to Hot Springs and we went to Galveston, Minnesota, and that's just a few of the places we've been. And so this year was Colorado and we all loved it. So we stayed in Breckenridge, Frisco area, and in the middle of July, it was beautiful. The temperatures were 40 to maybe 75, 79 during the day. We couldn't have asked for anything better than that at that point. Our first stop, once we got there and got settled, we went to Sapphire Point, which is between Breckenridge and Silverthorne. And it's a real pretty lookout area. It overlooks Dillon Reservoir. But the big draw was the chipmunks. So the kids could feed them with their hands. They could put some food down. They'd come and get it. So here's the little guys and my granddaughter feeding one of them. But they'd eat out of your hand. They'd eat off your shoe. They were everywhere, everywhere. So this is one of the kids' high points of the whole trip.
It's so cute.
Next, along the trail was real moderate. I think it was about half a mile. It wasn't very long, but it went around in a loop. And about halfway through was where the chipmunks were. And then where my grandson is in the middle here, there was these rock formations that people had gathered rocks around the area, and they built all these little rock towers everywhere. And that last picture is just a picture. There's a bird in the picture, but you can barely see him. Kind of overlooking the reservoir a bit.
All right. You know, the pile of stones is an nutchuck. It's a path. It's a trail guide, at least for North American Native Americans.
Oh, to mark their trails?
Yeah. So it's called
interesting.
Nutchuck.
Okay.
We also saw a deer real close to where they fed the chipmunks, and he didn't seem too worried about anybody really. So
there's generally so many people up there, and at that lookout point there, one of the days we went, somebody was actually having their wedding at the point overlooking the reservoir. So we went into the town of Frisco, which you can see is a cute little town, lots of little shops, beautiful scenery. Everywhere you looked and where we were, whether we were Breckenridge, Frisco, this is what it looked like. And then as we walked around, we came across Byron Park, which is a beautiful park in Frisco. It's got the creek here where the kids are playing, just absolutely gorgeous. Kids were, climbing around. They had a softball field or baseball field. They had a gazebo there. It was just a nice evening place for us to relax and the kids to run around.
it's also got a path running through it that we came through it again on bikes when we did our 14-mile downhill trek.
Yeah, which is down the road here a bit. So the next day we went to Peak 8 base, and this was actually on our birthday. Dave's and my birthday on the same day. So this is what we picked to do that day, was go up to the peak, and we rode the gondolas up to the Peak 8 base. And then once you get up there, there's hotel rooms and there's the restaurants and activities and all sorts of things. So we kind of spent the afternoon up there. And this little guy off to the right is North Scott. I can't say the word, or Earl or Uller, but he is the god of the sea and skis and snow, I believe, something to that effect. But once we were up there, the gondola was free to ride. So we took the trip up there, and then there's alpine slides, there's a mountain coaster up there, and a challenge course for those that wanted to have a little more activity. Of course, the kids wanted to do something, so we went to the Alpine slide. Some of us did. Some of us stayed home or stayed back. That did not stay back. So there's some pictures of my daughter and a couple of the kids on the slide, and the overlook from the top of the peak as we were going to head down the slide. And this other picture, I think, is one that we took when we were going up the ski lift to the top of the Alpine slide. But once we got going, there was no time for pictures. You just had to hang on and hope you didn't flip the thing before you got down there. So after that, we went to the poorhouse for lunch, and my granddaughter is she's my granddaughter. Anyway, she had to make the face coming through here. Then we went, the poorhouse was in Breckenridge. So again, the one on the left is the view of just the mountains down the street. Everywhere you looked, it was just beautiful. And then they also have a river walk in Breckenridge. So the kids, we found that after we did a little shopping and walked around, the kids found that so they could play in the water a little bit. I don't think any of us, other than Jennifer, went in the water because it was really cold.
Very touristy though.
Breckenridge was, yeah. It was lots of people, but it didn't seem terribly crowded necessarily unless you're in some of the stores. And it was just a beautiful place just to walk around and just enjoy the scenery. Oh my God. So that's the reservoir. And again, you're going to see these little guys a couple more times, I think. But this is sunset over the Dillon Reservoir and the chipmunks, because of course at night we had to go back to see the chipmunks again. So the next day, I don't think we let much dust settle. We went on a rafting trip on the Arkansas River. So again, they're getting ready to go. This is some of the scenery in the middle of what we saw going down the river. And then there's a picture of the crew. Mm-hmm. Along with our guide. I think she's in the picture too somewhere. We stopped a couple times. It was very shallow. It was more like a float trip. And the guide stopped every, a little bit because it was hot that day. So she stops with all of us, we wanted to get out and cool off and walk in the water a little bit. But it was just beautiful, nice, relaxing time. There's some more of us. There's another view. On the mountains in the background and the river, and then there's a shot of some of the boys getting out and cooling off. The next day, we went up to Vale Pass. So we rented bikes through Pioneer Sports in Frisco, and once they fitted us with all the bikes, they piled them all into a van and they hauled us up the mountain. And so the trail was 14 miles long, and there were a few serious bikers on that trail that about ran us over. Some of them are going 20, 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, more like 40, 50.
Maybe flying down that hill. I mean, and there was chance for collision. Fortunately, we didn't have any. Other than about 2 minutes into the bike ride, I fell off and fell in the weeds. But other than that, once we recovered from all that, we were good to go the rest of the way. There's just some of the shots as we were going down the mountain.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're away from traffic. The path that it's showing there has a line going, because there's people that actually go up the 14 mile
on their bikes. Mm. Yeah, see all the groans.
But there were a couple times where guys they were mainly guys that would come by and they were flying and they'd go, "Hey,
out the way." Yeah.
Get out of the way.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're insulted that we, this tourist thing we're doing. But
well, one of them even stopped and actually said, some of these guys are coming down really fast. You're going to get hurt if you don't stay off to the right. He made a point of letting us know, which I appreciated, because we didn't want anybody getting taken out either. So about halfway down the mountain, we got to Copper Mountain Village and another tourist area, or ski, it's a ski area actually in the wintertime, but lodging, restaurants, there was activities there to do also. So we stopped, and at this point, we didn't do too much here other than my daughter needed to get a new bike because her brakes didn't work, which is not a good plan on a downhill trek. So we stopped and ate lunch while the sporting company brought her a new bike. That's the restaurant, but see, you can see off to the left some of the condos and apartments that are there for skiers in the wintertime. And we stopped at a place called Sawmill Pizza, which was excellent. My son-in-law, who always likes to try different foods, he ordered the pizza here. It actually has elk meat on it. Wasn't Dave's my favorite, but he was excited about it. And then they have little, you can see little bumper boats and different things for the kids to do if you want to hang out there in the afternoon. It was a nice little town, but it was, again, you could tell in the wintertime it was going to be packed and very touristy. Up there, there's our crew. Still in one piece halfway down. So.
Okay, so the bridge that we're going over right here, I think that's the same waterway that was in the park that we showed you earlier back in Frisco.
Yeah, it may be.
And you pretty much, the path stays close to that.
Along the creek coming down.
Lori, why don't you introduce us to your family? Go back to that picture.
Oh.
Your daughter and
Gosh.
son.
Okay, so off to the left in the yellow is my son-in-law, Jason. And the little one being chauffeured around is Delaney. She had the best thing. She's sitting in that thing, kicked back, eating snacks all the way down the mountain. So then it's my daughter, Jennifer, my grandson, Ethan, my other grandson, Lucas, stays behind here.
That's a handsome dude.
And and me, of course, and then my son, Chris. Whoops, I did it again. My son, Chris. Ooh. So there we all are.
I didn't understand who was in the orange.
Who was in the orange?
Oh, is that you?
That's me. Yeah, it's me.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome, Helen. Thanks. So partway down the pass, we stopped. We missed one of them, but there was some mine entrances, and so this is the entrance to Kitty Innes Mine. It was founded originally in 1879 by a guy named Henry Learned, and it closed once the silver panic hit in 1893. So it's been inoperable for many, many years, but they found the entrance to this one and another one and marked them along that trail.
Which amazes me because you can see the entrance and Delaney standing straight up. That's all the bigger the entrance was.
Yeah, they must have had to crawl into those mines. Yeah, it was small. So once that ore was discovered in this area, though, they were saying that the population of Frisco doubled within a year. I mean, people just flocked to that area, in search of gold and ore and silver. So another stop along the trail, we found this gentleman fly fishing. Looked like he was having a good time, and I'm not sure he was too excited that we brought all of us with us. He was liking his solitude out there. And then we came across, again, more of these rock statues that, I think people, they might have been at one time used to mark trails, but I think now people just think they're cool to pile up rocks and make little statues out of them. So the kids had fun with that. Oops, sorry, went too fast. Oh, gosh. I don't drive very good. Hang on, guys. There. Okay, so I went real far, didn't I? I have a mouse issue. Oh, lower P. Maybe can I do it on my keyboard, Jonathan? Oh, yes, I can. Okay, so after all that, the following day, the kids, everybody but Dave and I, decided they were gonna go fishing. So they went back to Dillon Reservoir to do some fishing. As you can see, they're all working really hard at it, except Delaney's playing in the water. Lucas caught a fish and Ethan caught a fish. I think Ethan caught like 3 fish. But as it turned out, the little boy skunked the adults. So they're the only ones that caught any fish after all that. And I believe they were rainbow trout. So here's their catch. So my son cleaned him and filleted him, and I guess they brought him home. I haven't seen him since, so I don't know what happened to him. Next morning, we stopped at Butterhorn Bakery for breakfast, and this place is fabulous. Somebody Jennifer works with recommended that we have breakfast there. You couldn't ask for better food. Everything's baked there, fresh every day. All of their food is absolutely wonderful. That top right corner is their loaded French toast. It was yum.
And there's a line
Oh yeah, we
the
had to
whole
wait.
time.
Yeah, and it's a good sized restaurant, but there is a line to get in that place. So they've been there for over 40 years, and like I said, everything's made from scratch. So not only do they have their restaurant part, but they have a bakery too that has all sorts of yummy things in it.
And this was back in Frisco, which Frisco seemed to be less crowded
Yeah.
than Breckenridge did. But where we stayed, it was right in between Frisco and Breckenridge. So about the same amount of time to go to either place, which was about 10 minutes.
Yeah, we were in a really good spot. But I think overall, I think I probably like Frisco the best. So, oops. Oh, God. There we go. So we had to go to Sapphire Point one more time before we left, and to see the chipmunks. And again, here's some more pictures of the Dillon Reservoir and the kids and the chipmunks. And I mean, the little things were everywhere. They weren't afraid of anything, and they loved peanuts and sunflower seeds, and they would just keep going. Next day we went to Hoosier Pass. The goal was to get to the Continental Divide. So that's our picture before. And this is my daughter Jennifer. She's raring to go. But when we were up there, I had trouble breathing. The altitude, I mean, I didn't have altitude sickness, but I really had, if I exerted myself at all, it was really difficult to breathe. And I don't know, did you have much trouble? No, and the kids didn't seem to, but I sure did. So here's some pictures that my daughter took along the pass, of the kids playing and some of the views. Oops, I'm back again. But anyway, we didn't make it up there. The kids went, and then
They hiked up to the mountain,
and then they came back.
and we stayed behind.
Yeah.
Because number one, she was having trouble breathing. Number two, after that bike, 14-mile downhill bike thing, my back was about ready to
Give up,
scream.
man. Yeah,
But I'd still do it again.
we did it. It may hurt after we do it, but we're still willing to do it. So that evening we went back into Frisco again, and every Thursday night they have a band, so they have music in the park, and it's a beautiful park. I think they got the gazebo, they've got the lots of long space for people to put their lawn chairs in or blankets or whatnot, and it's kind of plunked in the middle of a historic park that has all of these old buildings in it. So the park's been there, I don't even know how many years and years and years, but these are actual buildings that they were from that area, that they've all kind of combined into one spot. And during operating hours, all of these buildings are open, so you can kind of explore go through them at your own pace. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So the kids went home, and Dave and I headed south. So we went to Leadville, and they say it's one of the most lawless mining boom towns in Colorado.
Mhm.
So
My dad,
you're up.
he back when when I was still, I bet you 4th grade, 5th grade, he went to Leadville and became a miner. My parents got divorced. So he worked in a mine that's still there, which is, do you remember the
I'm
name?
working on it here. Keep talking.
Anyway,
Oh, Climax. He worked in
Yeah.
the Climax mine.
the Climax mine.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, huge operation. They no longer go into the ground. They pretty much just strip. And then restore it, supposedly. But you can't get back to see where they do it now because it's all gated off and
Yeah.
Anyway, he met his second wife at a bar that's down here. It's a historical bar that she worked at, and they stayed there until they couldn't stay up in that climate, which you're really high.
Well, everything
They finally had to move down to Salida because she was getting on oxygen and they're just getting too old. So
We spent a little time in Leadville kind of putzing around, and one of the churches we came across, there's several really old historic churches there, but this was the Presbyterian church, built in 1889, and it's still a church today. The little lady that was kind of there as a volunteer to let people into the church and look around, she kept going on and on and on about the acoustics in this church. And I don't remember what song it was, but there was like 6 or 8 of us inside there at the time, but she had us all sing the song so that we could hear the acoustics in the church. So
right,
we did.
So the whole thing is from right in front of that stage area, you could pretty much talk to the whole congregation in this church and they'd hear you.
Without having microphones or anything to amplify it.
And now they just, they're still trying to restore it. It took them a while to get the funds to get this far with it, but they're working on it.
It's a beautiful old church, and all the wooden seats that are in there, and then underneath the seats, back in the day when, women wore hats to church and men wore hats everywhere. There's a little rack underneath each of the seats for the men to put their hat on, so they could take it off during service.
And I believe they still use that as a theater too.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. So
there's the Silver Dollar Saloon that's on.
yes, these are the dates that these buildings were built. Other than the saloon is still a saloon. It has the original bar back in it. The Tabor Opera House, I don't know that they're using it for performances anymore, but you can do a tour through the Opera House. And then this last picture of the National Bank, it opened as a National Bank in the 1800s. It's now a flower shop. So a lot of these buildings were still there and they're preserved, but they're not the same businesses that once were.
What amazes me is this is in the 1800s, and obviously they didn't have cars and everything, and how these people, and they didn't have the roads like we have now, but these people, how they got around in Colorado just blows my mind. I mean, it
was rough.
And cold, and
yeah, it was rough. So the Tabor Opera House, actually, when it was built, they said that it was the finest theater between St. Louis and San Francisco. So we kind of got to peek in there. We didn't do the tour, but it's beautiful. So then we took a little scenic train ride on the Colorado Southern Railroad, and it goes to the San Isabel National Forest, and it's about 2.5 hours. And of course, the guide tells you about different things of history within, that happened in that area in the mining towns. It was just a fun afternoon. Some of them were stories that you had a hard time believing. Some of them probably were factual. So here's some of the views while we were on the train.
And of course, it rained on us briefly,
Oh, yeah.
but you get up in the mountains and that's what you deal with is
Yeah.
different weather completely. And the temperature from Leadville going up, I mean, it got cool.
It probably dropped 30 degrees, I would bet, once the
So-
cloud cover came in. So in this water tower in the bottom right-hand corner was an actual stop on a train stop on the route when the train was actually being used as a passenger train. But they would use that water tower to refuel on water and wood for the trains.
Another thing about this trip was, and I don't think we got any pictures of it, but there was an old telegraph wire,
Oh, yeah.
parts of it that were still existing
Mhm.
because the trees grew around it. And it's
There-
fascinating.
There's history there. Here's some more pictures from the train. That's the Arkansas River Valley. And then this picture was just playing around, but I was able to take a panoramic picture and actually get both ends of the train as we were going around the bend.
It's really not that long of a train.
It looks like it. No, it's not. Okay, their last stop was, this is actually, we thought it was pronounced Salida, but if you look up, the original pronunciation is Salida. And we stopped there on the way down to Colorado Springs because this is where Dave's dad is buried. But the cemetery even is beautiful. You know, you see the mountains in the background and all the trees.
And what's funny is when we buried my dad, I mean, it was, again, 30 years, 40 years ago, but 30 years at least. And when we went back out there, we couldn't find Dad's grave. And so we had to call my brother, who's been out there several times. And it's funny because he kind of directed us to it. But my little sister, the last time she was out there, her son saw a deer, and we also saw a deer, which was close to where Dad's gravesite was, but that's how my little sister found it the last time, is because of a deer.
We think it's a little guardian deer that's out there. We're not real sure.
There's
See,
the
there's the
deer.
deer. There's the deer. So, and this was, you know, the left-hand picture is kind of some scrubby area off to one side, and then of course the other side's the mountains. I think, nope, we stopped one more place. So on the way home, we decided we were gonna stay in Colorado Springs for a few days, but when we got down there, it was 100 degrees. And we thought we could come home and be in 100-degree weather, so we just spent the night and kept going. We'll go back there when it's a little cooler, but so on the way home, right off of I-70 is a stinky little town called Wilson, Kansas, where they said it was the Czech capital of Kansas. So we thought we just took a little detour and went. So as you come into town, here's this monster egg. But it was kind of fun because not shortly before that, we had painted the Ukrainian eggs with the retirees. But it's very similar, beautiful. It's probably, I don't know, 15 feet tall. I don't remember if I wrote that down. What did they say? The town boasts, it's the Czech capital of Kansas because of the Czech immigrants that came from Bohemia in 1874. So there's been a Czechoslovakian presence in Kansas for many, many years. The end.
Oh, by the way, it was 111 degrees
Oh, yeah.
in western Kansas the day we came home. And we were on a 2-lane road
Oh,
and there was nobody else out there.
no. We kept watching that thermostat or thermometer on the temperature on the car viewer or screen kept going up and up and up. I was like, oh my gosh. But it was like that when we headed out to Kansas too. We stopped in Hayes and had lunch on the way out.
It was only
Yeah.
104 then.
Oh, it was only 104 then, but it was, oh, it felt hotter than 80s. It was awful. So we were just so tickled when we got to Breckenridge and it was cool. So, That's our presentation, gang.
You had a couple questions in the chat that I know you probably didn't see.
Oh, I didn't see it though.
Elizabeth was asking, did you encounter any rapids on that raft ride?
Little ones, little. We made sure that we were on a very mild ride because of Delaney. We wanted all of us to be able to go, and she was so young. She's so young that there was just a couple kind of fun little rapids that we did. So, but there are others out there that if you want rapids, you can
You can
they'll
do
give
it.
you rapids.
When I worked to the Working Horse Ranch, I did the Colorado River, which went down the Whitewater Rapids, and the guide at the time told us, when I tell you to row, I mean row. This could mean your life.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't even know what I was getting into until I got on the raft. So,
I'm kind of a wuss. I like the float trip.
but we definitely didn't get wet here.
No.
Whereas on the Colorado, we got soaked.
No.
Well, you had a second question also from Elizabeth about the mine that you went in on the ride down. She said, "Is it safe to go in?" Did you go?
Well, you could only go in about maybe 8-10 feet, and they had it blocked off. Yeah. No, they didn't have it open enough that you could go in there and explore.
It's interesting because when we went to Yuma, Arizona one time, we went out to Tombstone,
Right.
and they have a mine that you can go into.
And we walked down into
And we walked down in there, and then at one point in time, they want you to see what the miners are dealing with. So they turn off the lights.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm here to tell you, if one
dark.
little candle would sure be appreciated at that time, because you can't see in front of your face.
No, it's dark in there.
It just amazes me how they went down there and did this on their own. And
Day after day. Yeah. Different time.
Yeah, Dave, you mentioned your father was a miner. Was it dangerous at that time to be a miner? You talked about this.
he was underground, but at the time he was on a train cart, so to speak.
Okay,
And what he did was he made sure that train cart was where they needed to be, so that when they chipped away, they could load it right there.
okay.
Interesting.
So
I think there's probably always some danger involved in it, especially back in, the 1800s, or even when Dave's dad was there. The young lady that was doing the tours at the Tabor Opera House, she said her husband is currently a miner. And she said that, well, it's better. She said there is still some danger in that job.
Right.
Thank you.
What did they take out of the Climax mine? Is that silver?
it was mainly
It was horrible.
ore and other just general. It wasn't anything.
Wasn't gold or silver.
No. But what they did was they took it out, and I guess they processed it and took the ore one side and another zinc on another side. And I think there was lead in it too, but I don't remember.
Isn't the Tabor Opera House featured in The Unsinkable Molly Brown? Weren't they in that?
Oh, it might be.
Sorry.
If you go to Colorado Springs, you should go to Denver so you can see the Molly Brown house.
Oh, is that where the house is? Is in Denver?
Uh-huh, yes.
Okay. We'll get back out there. It just was so darn hot when we were there in Colorado Springs. I thought we just weren't doing it.
Did you go to the Air Force Academy at Colorado Springs?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
Like I said, we got down to Colorado Springs. We were actually gonna stop and see Nancy Whedon, and we even canceled that because she wasn't available when we got down there. And then it was just so hot. It was, to go and do anything outside, which would have been miserable. So we'll go back another time.
The place that we stopped, and to make our decision was a little convenience store. That wasn't probably the best part of town. There was one guy that had, was it a sword? That he was-
Yeah, I think
He had a
so.
sword that he was,
Just
you know,
hold it up.
walking with, and
Show shady characters.
yeah. So we just thought, okay, we need to get out of this part of town.
Yeah, real quick. Anyway,
Oh, in fact, we were so dead set on staying that we got tickets to Pikes Peak.
yeah.
Yep.
And we didn't use them.
We didn't use them.
So anyway, we'll try again.
The ticket you had to Pikes Peak, was it a railroad one, or what was the ticket
Yes,
for?
yes.
Oh, okay. So there's a
It-
train ride up there?
There is a train ride, and I've done that. My sister and I were there several years ago, and she and I went up on the train.
That's one of only 2 cog railroads in the United States that's left. The other one
really?
is in Washington, New Hampshire, I believe.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So yeah, that's the original cog railroad. We went up years ago, back in the late 1970s, and it was quite a venture. And I'm assuming that cog railroad is the same as it was then.
I think that, yeah, I think it probably is. And you can drive up there too, but we didn't, thought we'd take the train.
Another thing that was interesting that we didn't mention was our guide that took us on the float trip. She lived in a school bus on the property of the company that does the tours. And she was so excited because she just recently got a queen bed,
Yeah.
queen mattress. And she said, most of the guys that do this kind of stuff out there, they live in tents. They can't afford to live in apartments or anything like that. They have to live off the land pretty much.
It's so expensive. So these young college kids that come out there to work in the summertime, it's really hard for them. For their lodging.
And our guide had been doing this for several years. In fact, this wasn't her first gig. She was someplace else.
Yeah, I don't remember where.
But this is what she likes to do, and because the scenery and everything else.
Yeah, she likes to be, she's an outdoorsy girl.
And then the last thing she said to us when we were getting ready to leave was, she said, you guys, if you're hungry, don't go to Subway or any place like that. Support the people out here. They need your business more than the corporates do.
Yeah.
So, and it's just funny how expensive land is and stuff. And I just can't imagine. But another interesting thing that we didn't know about from Colorado, and I'd been there and she's been there before, was we got ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
And the ice cream was bulging because of the altitude. And one lady said in the grocery line, she goes, oh yeah, we blame a lot on the altitude. That's not the only thing that happened. Our bags of chips for snacks, they were completely puffed up.
Yeah, and she said if you're not careful, like chips and stuff, she said they'll explode. I mean, the bag will pop. Yeah, it was just kind of odd. And my daughter, for her birthday, she tried to make a cake. I mean, she did make a cake, but you know, all those directions on the box that say high altitude, well, now we got to figure it out. So they had to go get more flour, and it took forever to bake. I bet it was in there probably at least 30 minutes longer than we would have done here, at least. And it was a different texture when it came out. Yeah.
Try boiling eggs at that elevation.
Oh, that doesn't work very good either.
Oh my gosh, somebody that thinks they're gonna have a 4-minute egg, it's barely out of the chicken at 4 minutes.
But you know, one thing about this trip, and we've taken, this was one that we went to Colorado because Jason,
My son-in-law.
her son-in-law, he's been wanting to go to Colorado, and I frankly I did too. But you know, when we go like this, you know, and there's 3 people contributing, and we eat back at the place we rent. So it makes it pretty reasonable, even though this was probably our most expensive trip.
But we always rent a house so that we have the kitchen.
And then the kids get to play, you know, place to wind down. They can go outside, they can play, but we didn't see much wildlife, which I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Especially going down the path, but that was a pretty well-used path on the bike ride down. Now, I know there's areas out there that you can go, and like Jody goes, and they see wildlife all the time, but
In
apparently,
fact, Jonathan, we should ask Jody to do a presentation on Estes Park,
Okay.
because they've gone several times, and the photos and the wildlife that they see when they're out there is just fabulous.
Yeah.
So next year, that's kind of the direction I'd like to go. We'll see if we get there.
You know, last time we went to Estes Park, we pulled into town, went to the grocery store, and before we got out of our car, a herd of elk decided to walk through the parking lot.
Oh,
So people are saying, well, give them room. It was rutting season too, so we were giving them room, but they walked right by, you know, within just a few feet. And then
oh my.
the park itself has so many, you know, mule deer and on and on, lots of wildlife. So it's
Yeah,
fun
that'd
to
be
go.
fun.
I'm kind of surprised Breckenridge didn't have more animals, but maybe you're right. Maybe the path is just hit by too many tourists or something.
Maybe, yeah, I mean, other than that, the deer we saw at the cemetery, we saw one deer up by the chipmunks. I don't think we really saw anything else other than chipmunks
Yeah.
the whole time. So,
Last time I was in Estes, we went around one corner and here was a whole herd of elk.
was there?
Yeah, and it depends on whether they're ready to come down the mountain in the season. I know we used to get elk and moose and everything walking through Lander. You never
Oh
knew
my,
what you would run into
Mhm.
there.
fun.
How did you come by the place you stayed? Was it a house or a resort?
We looked on VRBO, it was a house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was on VRBO, and we're just trying to find one that was fairly close to Breckenridge. That's kind of where we were heading for, so
Okay.
it worked out really well.
I'm glad you live in Frisco.
It was fun. That was a fun little town.
Mhm.
Cute. We tried to go to the outlet mall. I think it's in Silverthorne, but it's odd because it's like in 3 different places. Like we had like section A here, and then about several blocks over here, you might have the other section. Yeah, we gave up. We gave up.
that was the day the kids were fishing.
Yeah. I think we were tired by that point. But it was a fun trip. So.
Well, that's-
Jonathan?
Any other questions?
You know, another thing too was this was when I was in college, when I went up to see my dad in Leadville, and I was driving a 70s Vega.
Oh, geez.
Yes, yes.
Oh, no.
So, you know, with the new cars, with the computers and everything, you don't have the problems like you used to have. Because I remember going through Eisenhower Pass, which we did, which was a pretty impressive tunnel when you think about it.
Mhm.
But I remember I was only able to go like maybe 35, and I had it floored because of the thin air. And now the new cars, they
Just go right through.
they just go right on,
Yeah.
you know. But the Eisenhower Pass,
The tunnel.
the tunnel is just, if you've never been through it, you
It's
just
amazing.
wonder how they did it.
Impressive.
I think it's neat that you do this every year, Lori and Dave, and it sounds like it's a family tradition. And
has
you're
become
already
that.
thinking about next year. you know, whoever took the pictures, I think it was mostly both of you. They're just beautiful, just gorgeous.
It
Thank
was
you so
fun.
much for sharing them.
Oh, thank you. Anita.
Well, and I finally had to say, I'm not going back to Minnesota.
Oh. So we
That's
started,
Laura's family, right?
that's where my family is. So we
Yeah.
started this when my niece got married. We rented a cabin on a lake. So we went there for maybe 3 years. And then Dave says, I'm not going there anymore. We're going somewhere else.
Been there, done it, you know?
So.
Lori and Dave, I've got to go, but thank you so much because it relives some of the things that I visited. We stayed in Breckenridge for a week some time ago, and it was wonderful.
Oh,
Just
good, Betty.
the area is, the mountains are beautiful. What can
They
you
are
say about
beautiful.
the Rockies? But thanks so much, and bring us in again on your next venture.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Betty.
Take care.
I have a couple of recommendations for you to consider for where you might like to go.
Okay, we'll take them.
Have you gone to the Dells in Wisconsin?
Lincoln, or the Wisconsin Dells?
Uh-huh.
Nope, we have not been there. I always wanted to go when I was a kid, but I couldn't get my parents to take me.
There's also on the road that you are in Wisconsin, you can stay and go to the Clown Museum, I think it is.
The Clown Museum?
But it's someplace that I've always thought would be such a fun place to go. And then this summer, we went up to the Peace Garden in North Dakota. And
Where's that at?
I know people don't ever think about going to North Dakota for a trip, but there are some things that I would recommend. Certainly Theodore Roosevelt National Park is something that you should see. But Minot is also one of the places that has a Czech orientation, and they have Hustfest, which is Norwegian.
Oh my.
But if you go up to the Peace Garden, I'd never been to the Peace Garden before, and that's right on the border between North Dakota and Canada. And I think, you know, if it gets to the place where the Canadian border is a lot more open than it is right now, that would be another really fun day. You know, it doesn't take you much more than a day. Then you
Right.
could go to Rugby, which is supposed to be the geographic center of North America. And so they're just kind of interesting things to see.
Oh, fun. I have family in North Dakota, so but I've not been to these places though.
Where's your family? I knew you had North Dakota background.
I did. I've got family in Fargo and Carrington and Jamestown,
Oh, okay.
Valley City.
My mom
Yeah.
went to college in Jamestown.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So, yes.
That's the crew. Oh, that'd be fun. Dave's never been to North Dakota.
No, in fact, when we were in South Dakota, you know, we went to Minnesota for a wedding, and then we went to South Dakota, and I tried to talk her into, well, let's just keep going. But Jennifer was already calling us by then saying, are you guys coming back? We kind of need you here with the kids.
Yeah, I know.
So
You came home.
there's so much of the United States that I haven't seen that
Yeah.
I'd like to go explore. But when South Dakota, I'm a old Western buff. I like Western history, but I really wanted to see the place where Custer's last stand was.
That's in Montana.
Yeah, but still, all that area up in there, I'm ready to go. I want to see it.
That might be our next trip, just his and mine.
Well, you know, Mandan is really a good place to go if you want to do anything with the Lewis and Clark Trail, because they wintered in Mandan, North
Oh,
Dakota,
really?
both going out and coming back. And
Huh.
so when you drive the back roads, there's an 1804 and an 1805 back road. And those are the dates of when Lewis and Clark were in that
wow.
area
Wow.
along the river.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yep. Very good.
So yeah, we haven't decided where we're going the next time, but This summer, we traveled a lot.
Yeah, we're not gonna tell them all about that. So.
I do admire you for doing those kinds of things and having somebody that you can do them with. You know, I think the Lewis and Clark trip would be wonderful. I think Route 66 would be great fun. But, you know, I recommend that to the people that I travel with and they go, it doesn't have a beach.
Oh, well, I like the beach too, but I like to do other things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, you guys. This was great fun.
Oh, thanks, Helen. All right, Jonathan, we good?
Yep, unless
All
anybody
right.
has additional questions.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you,
Thank you, Jonathan.
Lori and Dave.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
All right, thank you. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.